Good afternoon, friends of Body Shop X Live at Lunch. It's the three fellas again for another episode of BX Live at Lunch. I got Zach over here, Thomas over here. Today's topic is weekend warriors. At some point in time, you finish high school, you finish your sport, you stop being super competitive. That's a lie. You stop playing competitively and you maintain that competition level in your spirit. It's just there. So what do you do with that? How do you accomplish that? How do you stay safe? How do you have fun? So we're going to talk about the ins and outs of being a weekend warrior for your active lifestyle, and we're going to go. Remember, as always, if you have questions, please feel free to ask us below live. So we're live. You can ask us live. We'll do our best to answer it. Also, if you have questions, ask us in the gym. If you have anything else going on and you want a topic, please feel free to message us and let us know. Thank you guys for watching another episode of BX Live at Lunch. That was a pretty energetic intro. Thank you guys. I appreciate that. All right, so starting off the topic with weekend warriors, I'm going to talk about first your mentality. Coming off of being super competitive and then going into a rec style sport, you have to realize that there are some people that play over the top, some people who are still new to the sport, and you can't fault someone for being new to a sport in an adult age and wanting to try it. That's the perfect time. Let them go do their stuff. And then there's you. You may be on either side of those, or you may be in the middle, out there to have fun. But the biggest thing you have to remember about rec sports as an adult is you're there to have fun. So since you're there to have fun, just consider the things you have to do. You have to go to work the next day. You have to pick up your kids from school. You have to pick up your kids at home, like physically pick them up. So be aware of the other things of your life now that have to take precedence over you losing it in a rec soccer game or a rec basketball game or in a over-the-top frisbee game. You got to realize that these are things like stay active, be competitive, nothing wrong with that, but recognize that you still have life that has to be handled. And if you have kids and if you have a family you're responsible for, it's super important to realize those things, that you do not need to go over the top. You have to find out how to manage the mentality of the next day, the mentality of my life is not centered around the sport that I'm playing. It's just a fun activity for me to stay healthy and active.
Right. First off, apologies for my voice. My voice is like fading. But going off what Jason said, just making sure that you're aware of the potential consequences and not letting them necessarily deter you from participating in your sport.
Right.
But kind of dialing it back. And if that's really difficult, like near impossible for you to do, then you should probably be still training like you're going all out.
Right. Oh, absolutely. We definitely get into that. Zach, Thomas, you got anything to add to that?
Just to go along with, you can also have weekend activities and things that aren't necessarily team sports. So if you are someone who's really competitive and you want to channel that in a way, you can do individual sports or something like races or other things like that that are where you are holding yourself accountable and you can still train at a very high level to do those instead.
Absolutely. I picked up weightlifting. Zach picked up triathlon training, and Thomas is a swimmer, right? So each of us have gone in that route. I played competitively in college for soccer, and then after that was over, I still felt really good about soccer, so I played competitively in the adult league. In adult league soccer, they have divisions. They'll go up top. They have the Premier Division and have Division 2 and Division 3, so you can kind of manage your intensity that you want to play. And so as life kind of came at me after college was over, I just dialed my division down and still played. So that was something I could do there. And then once family hit, I had to do something that didn't, where other people weren't reliant on me to be there all the time. So I started to do something that was more into a strength sport and fit sport that I can manage the schedule a little bit better. So weightlifting came in handy for that after I learned how to coach it.
Right. And I would say weekend warriors doesn't just apply to the per se the team athletes that are participating in sport. It also applies to the everyday person that is just going all out for 2 hours on a Saturday and not doing anything the rest of the time.
That's true. It is important. So if that's the case, I think that's a good demographic to hit. So if all you're doing is that sport, it's probably important that you prepare your body for that 2 hours as well. Like if all you're going to do now is play the 2 hours worth of that sport, then maybe adding something in the week to not just help you with your overall fitness, but something that'll help you with your fitness and help you to play that sport a little bit longer.
Yeah, and I will say my thought on weekend warrior, especially in this setting, is people who just do, if they do a workout or if they do a physical activity, if they only do it, doesn't even have to be on a weekend. If they only do it one day a week, that at such a high level is going to do you more harm in the long run than if you were to be more consistent over a couple days or hours at a time.
Right.
So instead of going say you came here on a Saturday morning and you came and worked as hard as you could for 2 hours, that's great. But there is 24 hours a day and 5 other days before that Saturday morning that you could have done something to mitigate that and to actually help keep you active and not just 1 day or 2 hours or 1 hour out of a day on the weekend.
Right, and I think a lot of people will put in that 2-3 hour day on Saturday and be sore until Friday of the next week and use that as kind of the excuse or the building blocks to build in that excuse of, okay, well, I'm too sore to do anything.
Right.
Whereas it really works in reverse. If you were doing stuff leading up to it and preparation for it, then that's really going to mitigate the soreness.
Got you. Yeah, that makes sense. So instead of doing the hard thing once a week for 2 hours, it works better to do stuff. We're going to get into this word. It comes up on almost every other episode of consistency.
Right. It gets into that mindset of people want things now and they hit that burst of motivation and they're going to give 2 hours and then it's going to fall off. Whereas if you were consistent, you're going to see better results.
And that's all. I mean, that's the weekend warrior. Not just talking about you playing a sport, but the Saturday morning boot camp's extremely popular across all facets of fitness, right? Saturday morning, you get up, you go hard, and then the next day, you're a little sore, you feel sore, but if you can do something leading up to that, whether it's a little jog, a little run, some body weight work, it would keep there. And then when you go to that Saturday workout, let that be a pinnacle of intensity, and then keep going during the week. It doesn't have to be, so if you're doing an hour on that Saturday, taking maybe 2 or 3 30-minute sessions during the week would still help to mitigate some of the soreness that happened on that Saturday. And honestly, if you're doing that much intensity for 1 day a week, as Thomas said, you're doing more harm than good. But to explain that, you're not actually giving yourself or building on that total fatigue and recovery that you're trying to do. You worked hard, you were tired, you recover, but you didn't build on what you're recovering from. So then the actual process that you're trying to kind of, I guess, use the system of workout, be tired, recover, workout, be tired, recover, doesn't work because a 7-day rest period and then working out once a week doesn't give you the same stimulus, fatigue, and recovery options as doing it every other day or 2 to 3 times a week.
I would say too, as an athlete, if you're a quote-unquote good athlete, good in terms of, I hate to use this word, but following proper protocol. If you're like that in your early days, your high school, college career, and you're doing your workouts in supplement to your sport, if you're still going to be playing your sport, it makes sense that you would still train like an athlete. And if you didn't do that to begin with, you're not as you're not going to rebound as well from injury or from intense training the older you get. So it's really even more important, I would say, to train like an athlete if you're going to be still doing your sport at a high level.
I can agree with that.
Or at a competitive level.
Yeah. And I will say I'm not saying it's a bad thing to work out. If the only day you can work out for a week is on a Saturday, definitely come in. You can dial it back and not go 115% and get something out of it. And then say the next week you're able to come in a couple more days and kind of build off of it, that's good. If you have a 2-week span where you can only come in on a Friday or you can only come in on that Saturday, it's still better to be there. One, because you're actually showing up and you're not just taking off so much time.
Right.
But it's getting you ready to get back into it when you can go back up in intensity if, say, you're working or if you have school for kids. Something like that is where you're not just not coming in, but you're also maintaining that intensity and keeping it at a level that's beneficial for you.
I think that's a good point. If you're consistent over time, taking that break where you're maybe getting in once a week or only twice a week over the course of 2 or 3 weeks is enough to help you maintain so you can hop back in. But if you're if you're not being consistent, doing that one intense workout every week is going to be a lot tougher to recover from.
I would say if you're competitive too, you're probably not going to have that much of a problem coming into the gym and hitting high intensity. It's going to be being able to have the self-awareness to dial it back in the gym and hit lower intensities as well, because they're just as important. And that's where a coach can really help out in programming a good, well-rounded program for you to make sure that you're ready for your Saturdays.
Good deal. So if you're a weekend warrior, this conversation was for you. So make sure that you go out and you have fun. Understand what go have fun. That's the biggest thing I want to say. Zach, you got anything you want to close on?
Have fun, like Jason said, but be smart about what fun you're having.
Yeah.
And then my thing is, it's good to get in and have an activity 1 or 2 days a week, but just to make sure that you're not doing it where it's one day over a super long period of time. You want to stay that consistent, like we always talk about, and to be able to actually actively get into it more.
Yeah. And you do have to understand your intensity as you continue to mature, grow older, and get up. Make sure as you mature, grow older, and have more experience, you want to make sure that you're taking care of your body the right way. All right, so you're giving yourself enough time to recover, but also giving yourself enough of a workout and enough of an intensity that you can still improve and maintain an active lifestyle without risking injury or diminishing the amount of risk you have for your injuries. Sound good? Good stuff. So we really appreciate you guys watching this week's Live at Lunch. We hope you guys have a wonderful day. We'll see you next week.
See ya.
See ya.